Nigeria relies on 10 billion US dollars of imports to meet its food and agricultural production shortfalls. These imports are mostly wheat, rice, poultry, fish, food services, and consumer-oriented foods. Europe, Asia, the United States, South America, and South Africa are major sources of agricultural imports. Nigeria is also a country of almost 200 million inhabitants, meaning its agricultural sector needs to be apt and efficient enough to sustain stable and steady growth while ensuring that the nation is fed. As a result of this, the Nigerian government has been actively involved in looking for solutions to this deficit in agricultural products. The government of Nigeria has initiated agricultural programs such as the Anchor Borrowers Program to diversify its economy away from oil. The government at the Council on Agriculture and Rural Development regular meeting approved the implementation of a new agricultural policy named the National Agricultural Technology and Innovation Plan. The 4-year blueprint was designed to help Nigeria's COVID-19 economic recovery. This policy will replace the agriculture promotion policy that was launched in 2016 but terminated on December 2020. Nigeria's agricultural sector has been hurt by several shocks: sporadic flooding, Boko Haram insurgencies, and conflicts between herdsmen and local farmers. Food processing continues to suffer from a lack of financing and infrastructure. Food inflation rose to 22.9% in the first quarter of 2021. There were wide-ranging price increases across items such as cereals, yam, meat, fish, and fruits. The causes of the food inflation include worsening conflict between farmers and herders, banditry, kidnapping, and insurgency in Nigeria's agriculture belt that the government of Nigeria is struggling to suppress. Additional upward pressure is caused by the devaluation of the local currency, the naira, which has been devalued multiple times since 2021. Also, higher fuel prices have also contributed to rising food prices. U.S. food and agricultural exports reduced by about 33% from $653 million in 2019 to about $489 million in 2020. U.S. food and agricultural products exports to Nigeria averaged $537 million over the past 5 years, and about 70% of which was wheat. Last year, Nigeria imported over 1.29 million metric tons of wheat from the U.S., making it the 5th largest U.S. wheat importer in the world. Nigeria also imports U.S.-origin soybeans, intermediate food products, especially vegetable oils and animal fats, consumer-oriented food products like condiments and sauces, processed vegetables, wine, prepared food, dairy products, non-beverage ethanol, and fish products. U.S. imports of Nigerian food and agricultural products reached $50 million in 2019, down just 2% compared to 2018. Major U.S. imports of Nigeria-origin food and agricultural products include cocoa beans, tea and herbal products, feeds and fodders, cashew nuts, spices, and seafood products. Nigeria is a beneficiary of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, but has struggled to take full advantage of the trade preference benefits. The weakness of the country's sanitary and phytosanitary in the food safety system means that food exports have difficulty meeting international standards. If you're still with us, then you're enjoying this educative video. Hit the like button before we continue. This helps us reach more people. Products with the most export potential include wheat, rice, dairy products, seafood, and wine. Let us look at each of these products. Wheat. Local wheat production meets an insignificant portion of Nigeria's wheat consumption demand. Overall demand is significantly augmented by imports, which were estimated at $2.1 billion in 2020 and projected to be $2.5 billion in 2021. With the country's wheat milling capacity at more than 8.2 million metric tons, Nigeria is the 5th largest U.S. wheat importer in the world. Bread, semolina, and pasta are staples in Nigeria, and the demand for these products continues to increase. Currently, the shares of wheat flour for bread, semolina, pasta, and others remain at 60%, 20%, 10%, and 10%, respectively. Nigeria has seen prices of all locally grown staple foods spike in 2021, weakening consumer purchasing power, which is forcing consumers to resort to cheaper commodities. The first quarter of 2021 experienced a 47% increase in wheat importation. The increment was because of the spike in the price of rice and gari, which are Nigerians' staple foods, making consumption of semolina, pasta, and noodles more predominant. U.S. origin wheat market share in Nigeria was over 90% in 2012, but declined to less than 40% in 2020 due to steep competition from wheat exports from the Black Sea region. Some leading sectors include wheat flour utilized for bread, noodles, pasta, biscuits, and semolina. Local wheat production is insufficient to meet domestic demand and is relatively expensive. Consumers demand higher quality wheat flour-based products. Local importers consider U.S. wheat as a high-quality product, and suppliers are viewed as consistent, reliable suppliers. Rice. Nigeria is Africa's largest producer of rice and is among the top 15 producers globally. The government of Nigeria had announced that the country would be self-sufficient in rice production by 2018, but the target was not attained. However, the high cost of rough paddy rice, as well as high operational costs, continue to hamper large-scale, integrated rice mills from producing at competitive prices. Imports continue to meet approximately half of the country's rice demand. Parboiled rice account for the bulk of imports. Thailand and India origin rice dominate imports. Nigeria remains one of the world's largest markets for parboiled rice, consuming on average $4.0 billion worth of parboiled rice each year. The government's Anchor Borrowers program, initiated over the last 3 years, has contributed to increased domestic production. However, paddy production and milling costs remain high. Rice is one of the products listed by the Central Bank of Nigeria as not valid for foreign exchange at the Nigerian foreign exchange window. Thailand origin rice accounts for 65% of all rice imports, followed by India at 20%. Other origins include Brazil and China. Imported rice enters the market informally through Nigeria's porous borders. Usually, shipments are destined for seaports located in neighboring countries and transported to Nigerian markets through land border routes. One leading sector is polished and milled rice, which is exclusively parboiled. An opportunity in this area is that Nigeria still depends on approximately 1.7 million metric tons of imported parboiled rice to meet its domestic rice consumption demand. Dairy. The size of Nigeria's dairy market in 2019 was $1.6 billion, with over 87% of demand met through imports. The country's dairy market is potentially as large as $6.5 billion. Nigeria has the fourth largest cattle population in Africa, estimated at 20 million cattle, including 2.35 million cows used for dairy production. Despite its size, the Nigerian dairy sector is largely fragmented, unproductive, and inefficient. Though smallholder dairy households produce most of the raw milk in Nigeria, the end market is controlled by large multinationals that use imported milk in over 97% of products consumed. Local dairy processors rely on combining and reconstituting milk powder imported mostly from the European Union. The reconstituted milk is mostly packaged and sold as powdered, evaporated, and condensed milk and packaged in metal cans and sachets of different weights. Ice cream, chocolate milk, yogurt, and shelf-stable milk production are from reconstituted imported milk powder. Infant formula, cheese, butter, as well as some ice cream, are mostly imported. Demand for these products continues to grow, with the consumption of flavored milk drinks, mostly consumed by school-aged children, increasing in demand. Beginning February 2020, the Central Bank of Nigeria launched a program to conserve foreign exchange and encourage local production of milk and dairy products. The program introduced foreign exchange restrictions on the importation of milk and milk derivatives into the country. Following this policy, the Central Bank of Nigeria exempted and approved 6 Nigerian companies to import milk and dairy products that had keyed into Nigeria's backward integration program as the solution to increasing dairy productivity. These companies are Friesland Campinawanko Nigeria, Chai Limited, TG Arla Dairy Products Limited, Promisidor Nigeria Limited, Nestle Nigeria plc, and Integrated Dairies Limited. To curtail the recurrent clashes between herders and farmers in Nigeria, the National Economic Council approved the National Livestock Transformation Plan in 2019. The program aims to improve the performance and sustainability of the livestock sector, including meat and dairy production, through partnerships with state governments and the private sector. Nigeria's dairy processors rely on combining and reconstituting imported milk. The Nigerian dairy market is growing at 5% per year, fueled by a growing, increasingly urbanized population demanding more dairy-based products. Domestic milk production is underdeveloped. On average, a cow in Nigeria produces 1 kilogram of milk per day, compared to an average U.S. dairy cow, which produces about 32 to 35 kilograms per day. Seafood. Frozen seafood is Nigerians' most affordable source of animal protein, and its consumption is increasing. The country is a potential market for approximately 2.5 million metric tons of fish, valued at $3 billion US. Atlantic mackerel, horse mackerel, herring, and croakers are the main species consumed. Domestic catches and aquaculture production are mainly catfish and tilapia, which remain underdeveloped due to high input costs. Catfish and tilapia, which are produced in Nigeria, are banned for export. On March 1, 2018, the United States Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service suspended the import of catfish and other fish products from Nigeria. Nigeria's Federal Fisheries Department failed to fully address the information requested in the self-reporting tool prior to the due date. Consequently, Nigerian catfish farmers and processors lost the huge market opportunity for mostly smoked, packaged catfish they export to the United States. The Foreign Agricultural Service in Lagos is actively involved with the government of Nigeria to address the issue raised by U.S. Food Safety and Inspection Services on catfish export to the U.S. Some leading sectors are Atlantic mackerel, horse mackerel, herring, blue whiting, and croaker. Wine. Nigeria's potential market for alcoholic beverages is valued at $2 billion US. The still wines, that is red and white category, lead the market. These account for a market share of more than 80%. Red wine alone accounts for over 73% of the total volume sold, but local wine processing is underdeveloped. Middle-class consumers are increasing their consumption of wine, perceiving it as a healthier option than other alcoholic beverages. From June 4, 2018, the 20% tax on wine was replaced by a tax of per centiliter over a 3-year period through 2020. The government of Nigeria indicated it wants to raise revenues and reduce health hazards associated with alcohol abuse. Some leading fields are alcoholic wines and spirits, still wines, premium wine, and spirits labels. Local wine processing capacity remains underdeveloped, with the cost of production high. Nigeria has one of the most robust agricultural systems in Africa. Nigeria is doing well in the agricultural sector for a country that is well known for oil refining as its breath of fresh air. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our community of touristers here on the New Tourist channel. See you in our next video.